the idea of Joe Biden as the nominee, who is really been, I think has even surprised, I think, a lot of like in the foreign policy establishment as to just how relentless and how unconditioned, I mean, just completely unconditioned, his support and willingness to give weapons to Israel is. I mean, blowing through the Leahy laws, blowing through personal humiliation and national humiliation. I mean, like, I don't recall another time where there has been so many things that have been completely blown past. I mean, just even Patel, the speaker, the defense comms
State Department guy,
State Department. He's cited in that Haaretz piece about all the abuses that are going on of Palestinians. He's actually cited, like mentioned in that piece, and he still sort of throws it off like it's just like irrelevant reports. I mean, there's so much sort of gaslighting going on in terms of there. But and I want to talk about the implications of like Harris and what we can expect from Harris and what we've seen so far. But before we do, let's contextualize this in terms of like, let's play this clip of Miriam Adelson. This is at a fundraising event, and well, I guess it's a Stop Anti-Semitism event.
It was a campaign event, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well,
whatever.
for Trump, there's a whole subplot here about why is Trump going to Montana and then doing fundraisers in New Jersey when he's falling behind in the race, but it's because he's leaning into like, give me more money, I'm now the pro-Israel guy, AIPAC and Zionist lobby. And so he had Miriam Adelson, who's the widow of the pro-Israel Megadonor, and now she is one herself, Sheldon Adelson, introducing him at this event.
And I just want to put with this one context. It was reported in June, I think it was, that Miriam Adelson was looking for was teasing Donald Trump with $100 million in a PAC, and what her ask was, annex the West Bank. And this is like round two in terms of this dynamic. She did this in 2016. Here's Miriam Adelson speaking.
Blessed he is, delivers us from their hands. In other words, the Jews are the people of the promise. We believe in the power of public commitment, of closing a deal with handshake and mazal und brocha. Did I say it correct? And friends, there is one president in our lifetime, just one, who fully shares that values. And act on it. That president is Donald Trump. He promised to recognize Jerusalem and to move the embassy to Jerusalem. Promise kept. He promised to withdraw from Iran nuclear deal, and promise kept. He promised to bring peace between Israel and Arab nations. Promise kept.
I don't know about that.
And all in Golan Heights, that was a big gift. He promised Golan Heights, and he recognized. And all of this he did in his first term while battling COVID pandemic, race riots, and the liberal media.
Okay, I think we got the shopping list. Mehdi, just give me your reaction to this. I mean, because we kept deliberately in that clip that Donald Trump understands the importance that you make a deal with a handshake. I wonder whose hand he shook to deliver those things.
Donald Trump, famously, man who keeps his promises and sticks to his handshakes. Look, one thing about that clip, look, what she said is correct, to be fair to her. He did do those things. And, you know, there's never been better proof of the fact that there's no connection between being pro-Israel and being pro-Jewish than in the form of Donald J. Trump. Because he was super pro-Israel. Miriam Adelson is right. But he's also one of the most anti-Semitic people we've seen run for office anywhere in America in our lifetimes, including at this Stop Anti-Semitism event. It was an anti-Semitism event at which Trump did lots of anti-Semitism in terms of talking about Jewish lobby and the power of Jews, which they're fine with, as long as he's saying it in the context of backing Israel. And look, let's just take this beyond Israel, because when I talk about lobbies, I like to talk about all lobbies. The oil and gas lobby. We know that Trump had a meeting in Mar-a-Lago where he said, give me $1 billion, you know, Dr. Evil style, and I will do whatever you want in terms of opening up drilling for you and all the rest. He literally just sells the United States government and the Oval Office to the highest bidders, and Miriam Adelson is one of those bidders, alongside oil and gas executives, alongside the gun lobby, alongside all the rest of them.
Well, I mean, would you say... We have that clip
clip
here, yeah. He repeatedly refers to the pro-Israel lobby and then says Jewish people over and over throughout this speech, but this was just one of those instances.
If you're playing the clip, just imagine a Democrat. Imagine Ilhan Omar saying this.
Imagine that.
Imagine the reaction.
That's number 7. Yeah.
Loco, something's wrong with him. Never seen this. I never thought this could happen. Do you know, just to get off for a second, years ago, my father was a big supporter of Jewish people and Israel. He's not Jewish. He wasn't Jewish, but he was a great friend of a lot of Jewish people.
I want to make that clear.
And if you said, let's say 15 years ago, maybe not even that long, anything bad about Israel or Jewish people, you were finished as a politician, right? You were finished. You wouldn't do that, Congressman. You wouldn't do it anyway, but nobody would do it. The most powerful lobby in this country, by far, was Israel and Jewish people. Today, it's almost like, what happened? What happened? What happened to Schumer? What happened to all these people? Schumer's like a Palestinian, right? It's a Palestinian. You got to remember that, though. It's, you know, it's shocking, because I grew up where Israel was, was supported. My father was a builder in Brooklyn, and a lot of Jewish people. That's all he knew. That's all I knew, essentially. But we knew Jewish people, and they were great people.
Can I just say there, you have to hand it to Donald Trump. He's one of the few people I know who can engage in anti-Jewish and anti-Arab bigotry in consecutive sentences. Just manages to be racist towards the Palestinians, calling Chuck Schumer a Palestinian as a pejorative, preceded by the Jews, the most powerful lobby in America. And I knew a lot of Jews because I was in the construction business. It's amazing what he gets away with. Amazing.
I mean, it really is stunning. You had Ilhan Omar and frankly, Thomas Friedman both made the case about AIPAC, specifically about AIPAC, which is not representative of Jews in any fashion whatsoever. Not as a function of data, not as a function of theology, not as a function of religion, not as a function in any way whatsoever. Or in what they actually propose. I mean, we can just look at this in terms of polling, in terms of where their exercise has gone. But Trump conflates this, and to a certain extent, we have Israeli leadership that also conflates this, which is, I think, frankly, from my perspective, not making Jews safer. It's actually making Jews take responsibility for something that has nothing to do with Judaism.
Also, someone like Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL, who spent the last 10 months policing campus discourse, whatever every student carries on a placard, often goes after non-white members of Congress, to Cori Bush's, Rashida Tlaib's, Ilhan Omar's, viciously goes after JVP, compared Jewish student groups. I think he called them not mirror image. He used some phrase comparing them to the KKK and white supremacists. The reverse image, I think he said. This is a guy who, where is the ADL and the AJC and all these groups? Why are they not out this morning outraged about what Donald Trump said yesterday? Where are they all?
There,
Right.
you know, he's a guy. Do you remember that guy Donahue? I don't know if you involved from the Catholic League.
Yes,
He
yes,
was.
I remember him.
And he was a guy. The Catholic League, incidentally, was an operation of him and his longtime secretary in an office, and he would just go and do television hits as a way of defending, claiming that people were anti-Catholic bigots when all of the priest stories were breaking. I guess close to 20 years ago now. And there's a quality of the ADL has basically functioned in that way. I mean, they're just, it really has become quite a racket. And then you do see it in moments like this. But let's turn to Harris and, as a way of pivoting into what's going on with the election. But from your perspective, what does Harris need to do? There's polling out from YouGov that shows in swing states, if Harris came out in favor of conditioning weapons, or maybe I think it's phrased as embargoing Israel in terms of weapons, and demanded a ceasefire. And those two things are sort of inexorably linked if you're going to be honest about it. They're demanding a ceasefire, but it means nothing. It's not a demand if you don't exercise your leverage.
Exactly.
What can she do in this instance, and what can she not do?
Yes. So let me say three things. One is the polling is hugely important that came out from the IMEU and YouGov. Actually, Prem and Zeteo covered that story first. And in a shameless plug, just to go back to what we talked about earlier, realisrael.film. Got to get the plug in, Sam and Emma. REEL Israel.film if you want to watch the documentary we were talking about earlier. Number two, in terms of, I'm so glad you linked ceasefire to arms embargo, because Matt Iglesias and a few other bad faith actors are going, oh, these protesters just wanted a ceasefire. Now that Biden and Harris are calling for a ceasefire, they're moving their goalposts and saying they want an arms embargo. As you point out, there is no ceasefire without an arms embargo, because Netanyahu just keeps the killing machine going until we stop giving him the killing tools. So that's very inextricably linked. And last point I would say is the polling is so clear for the Harris campaign. Forget morality. Forget international law, forget the Palestinians. You don't need to care about any of that stuff. All you have to care about as a Democratic strategist is, do you want to win the election in November? And this poll from YouGov is so strong in three of the key swing states. It shows that 1/3 of Democratic voters who voted Biden in 2020 and plan to vote again say they are more likely to vote for Harris if she were to support an arms embargo. Only, I think, around 8% say they are less likely to vote for Harris if she were to come out for an arms embargo. And even more fascinatingly, when you look at the number of people who are 2020 Biden voters who say they now will not vote for the Democrats, will stay at home or vote third party, 57% of those people in these swing states say they would vote for Harris more likely if she were to come out for an arms embargo, and 0% say they are less likely to vote against Harris if she were to come out. It's like a no-brainer, this policy. You look at the paper, it says, I can do something that's super popular, will cost me very little, if nothing, and is the right thing to do, and sets me apart from my opponent. Now, the question is, why won't she do it?
And distances you from the administration in one of their clear, their least popular thing. And I think go ahead.
I was going to say, we've seen this film before. 1968, Hubert Humphrey was running a campaign against Nixon. And I'm actually writing about this right now, which is in 1968, he waits till end of September to give a speech saying, end the bombing, distance himself from LBJ's campaign. LBJ is not happy about it at all. Ironically, LBJ is the last time a president decides not to run for re-election for a second term. And look, he loses very narrowly to Richard Nixon. And I would like to see Harris distance herself from this hugely unpopular policy, this kind of thing hanging around her neck and Biden's neck much quicker. She's hit the right rhetorical notes. She has projected some empathy. She is going to meet with the uncommitted folks. She is dealing with hecklers now much better than she was and Biden was in some extent. But talk is cheap, right? What are you going to do about it? And that is the fundamental problem that the Harris campaign has not yet addressed head on. And if you look at the polling out today, I believe, or last night, from Michigan, there's a new poll that has Trump neck and neck with Harris when there's a third-party candidate and marginally ahead when there isn't, or vice versa. Either way, Michigan still is not looking good for her.
Right. I mean,
she's lagging.
It's that close.
Yeah, lagging behind Wisconsin and Pennsylvania in that growth, I think, as well.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.